In this lesson, we're going to be learning function composition. So function composition is where a function's output feeds the input of another function. Here's a little example of how we might use it. So suppose I have a function called t of x, where t of x represents the time it takes in hours to paint x number of classrooms. And then I have another function that I'm going to call c of x, and in this case c of x will be defined to be the cost of workers working for x number of hours. So first thing to notice is I have two functions, each with this input of x, but x is different for each function. So don't get confused. This x is literally different than this x, even though it looks the same. So then we could define this composition of functions, and the way we would speak this is c of t of x. This composition expresses the cost to paint x number of classrooms. So we feed x into the time function, we get a time, and then we feed the time into the cost function to get the final cost. Now, an alternative way of writing this is with this little dot here, an open dot, and it means the same thing. It means c of t of x. It means the same thing as this. So to evaluate this, what we would do is we would first take t of x right here, this is t of x, and we replace it. So you see right here where we have t of x, and I'm replacing it with the definition of that function. And now I'm going to plug this input into the c function. So I'm going to start off with a template that describes the c function. The c function is defined as follows. Take the input, multiply it by 15. So I have the input as a big box, and then I'm going to multiply it by 15. And then I'm going to put inside of the box the entirety of the input, and make sure you put parentheses around it when you do it. And now you just distribute out the 15 to the 10x and the 2, and we have our function composition simplified. Okay, let's do a couple of examples here. The first ones start with a number, and then it gets more abstract with the variable. When it's a number, it's very easy. Just work from the inside out. Just ignore the f function completely and calculate what g of 2 is. So I'm going to start off with the inside. G of 2, I'm going to plug 2 into the g function and evaluate that. I get 0. F of 0, I just plug 0 into the f function, and I get the answer of 1. Same thing with this other case here. I'll start from the inside out, plug 2 into the f function, evaluate that, then plug 5 into the g function. Okay, it gets a little bit more tricky here. So in this case, I'm going to start off by just ignoring the f function for now and just substituting g of x for x squared minus 4. Now I'm going to then take my f function and write out a template for it. 2 times the input plus 1. And that's what you see right here. 2 times the input plus 1. And for the input, I put in the entirety of this input in the box with parentheses. Then I distribute, and then I simplify. Okay, next one, same idea. First I'm going to change it into this other form. This is in the kind of the composition dot form. I'll change it into this form. So I'm going to first replace f of x with its definition. Then I'm going to write out a template for the g function, where the g function here is the input squared minus 4, so I write it as this, the input squared minus 4. I put the entire input into the box. Then I multiply it out, and be careful when you multiply it out. Do not be tempted to distribute the exponent over these two terms. It's not going to be 2x squared plus 1 squared. You have to actually multiply it all out, and you'll get this. Then I simplify. Okay, so the next page just has some examples for you to try out yourself. I'll show the answers in 3, 2, 1. The last one's a little messy, but you can see how in all these cases, I'll just back this last one up a little bit. Sorry. Just back it up. Oh, sorry. So you notice here how right here I have this f function here, and I'm going to create a template for it. 2 times the input squared, 2 times the input squared, plus 5 times the input, and we see plus 5 times the input. And then I'm going to put g of x, which is the 2x plus 1, inside these boxes with parentheses. So that's the way I do it in general for all of these. And right now you might want to make the actual box if you want to make sure you're kind of doing it very carefully. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Have a good day.